Hi everyone, Chris here, back with the Lenovo Legion Y740. So it's been 2 weeks now that I have been using this. I've done the unboxing video and I've done plenty of gaming on it. So now it's time to test out gaming performance and overall performance and more benchmarks, thermals, fan noise, battery life, you name it. It's going to all be here in this review.
Now the build overall of this laptop is very good. No issues and complaints with it. We've got a rubber trim that goes around the screen outside here, so that's to stop it from scuffing up the palm rest area around here. Pressing down on the palm rest, there's no flex. That is very solid. The keyboard pressing down really hard, tiny little bit of flex. The keys themselves, they have a good feel to them, but they're not super high quality. I just wish they had more of a direct feel to them. They're a little bit more responsive, and I don't like the fact that they've added this left-hand column of keys. So we've got two macro keys, screen brightness controls, and then pressing the very top button launches Lenovo Vantage. And so many times I go to hit escape and I press that key, or I go to hit control and I end up turning down the brightness on that backlit keyboard. And of course, being a gaming laptop, that it does have full RGB customization with the keyboard. But what's interesting to note that out of the box, you don't have the software pre-installed for it. You've got to go over to Corsair's website and download it so you can fully control the keyboard. We're able then to customize as well these side vents and even the logo on the top. One of the positives of the Y740 here is the amount of ports it's got. So on the left-hand side, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack with mic support. Very good quality out of it. A Thunderbolt 3, so this is 4 lanes PCIe, and it does support up to 4K. Tested and working. On the back, our lock slot, charging port, a USB 3.1 port, gigabit LAN, another USB 3.1 port, HDMI 2.0A, and a mini display port. And finally on the right hand side, a reset button and one last USB 3.1 Type A port. The Legion logo right here is very discreet. The fact that they've just gone with the black printing of it, it doesn't stand out, it's not in your face, but yes, the webcam location, not brilliant. It's looking at your neck and kind of up your nose. Just below it is the dual array mics. And here's a sample from the webcam.
So not great the quality, as you can see from this. It's a little bit grainy, and I do have my powerful studio lights on. When I tested this in lower light, it looks even worse, as you can imagine. So I really feel that they should improve the quality of the camera and the top chin. Why couldn't they squeeze it in there? Now, when you're normally like looking at someone else, you'd be looking like that. So to them, it's like you're not even looking at the camera. You can hear that there is a little bit of feedback from those keys, and it will be very easy to actually see your fingers too because of that poor location.
Audio's not too bad. We've got side-firing speakers. Sadly, there is no additional subwoofer within this, which I think they should really add to give it a little bit more punchier sound. It does sound pretty good. I mean, they're not the best speakers I've heard, but they are definitely not the worst. The volume is there is some bass, there's some mids, and we do have Dolby Atmos tuning. But here's a sample of just how they sound and what to expect. Before I get onto the gaming benchmarks that I know you all want to see after all this is a gaming laptop, I have to point out a few other things to do with performance, but first the screen, which does have quite a good color gamut considering it's a gaming laptop and a 144Hz screen, so very high refresh rate with G-Sync is great to have. So we have NTSC there of 66%, sRGB of 96%, which is very good, and Adobe RGB of 71%. Now, these figures come out so much better than I would have thought. For a gaming laptop, you normally get somewhere in the 60s. So is it enough for color grading? It depends on what you're doing, of course, your work. And if you're going to be video editing and things like that, you want to get your colors right. Calibrate the screen, of course. Now, the calibration out of the box is actually not too bad with this one. So I feel for what this is, a gaming laptop, they've actually gone with a very decent screen. It does have a maximum output of 400 lux, almost. It's about 395. But I noticed a little bug that when you plug in external monitors through the HDMI or the display port, that it will actually halve the brightness for some reason when they're plugged in. Now, I don't know whether this is by design, it's a battery saving feature, or just a bug that hopefully they're going to fix. So the performance of the internal storage, it is a Samsung PM981. Very, very fast. And then we have a 1TB spindle hard drive which has reads and writes of about 120. So that's for all your large MP3 files, your videos and things. And if you wanted to access or run a game with faster loading times, of course, install it onto this drive here if you want the best performance there. Taking a look now at Geekbench 4, so I did show this score in my unboxing, so I'll just go over it very briefly. Very good score, on par with other gaming laptops that are running the same exact chipset. Firestrike Extreme 1.1, decent score. And pass mark, very good here. So over 6,000 for the pass mark rating is the first time I have seen this on a gaming laptop. Really good score. And if we move over then to a gaming benchmark, which is superposition, so this is pushing just the GPU, and it gets, well, just under 4,000 points there, which is not too bad, but I expected actually over 4,000 here, so not really too sure why this is a little bit lower. But when we take a look at other benchmarks, so I did run Cinebench R15, very good score here. So this is the CPU score. Normally you see without any undervolting, so I have not undervolted at all, no overclocking here. This is completely stock. They have set a 60 watt power limit for power limit 1. And this is the reason why we're getting these good scores here. That with the cooling, because on the other laptops I've tested out, it's normally about 1000 CB. So we're looking at about 20% faster here. So really good score. And another decent score here for Cinebench Release 20. Almost just 1 point away from 2700 CB. Now when we take a look at the thermals, as I pointed out in my unboxing, that it will peak up to 95 degrees. Now it's only for about 10 seconds, 5 seconds max. Then once the fans have ramped up and it does start to work quite well, it will then maintain a very good temperature, and we're getting full performance out of this. So this is the best thing about it. So they've set a power limit level 1 of 60 watts, and it will maintain all of the 6 cores at 3.9 gigahertz, which is what we want. So it's not throttling down the clocks. We're not losing performance here. And as you'd expect for the spec of this laptop, that it does handle editing 4K video with Adobe Premiere Pro 2019 here without any problems. So for 1 minute of footage, you're looking at approximately about 1 minute and 15 seconds. So about 15% more of the actual video time it takes to render it with the 4K YouTube preset using hardware acceleration, of course. Now the wireless, it's a killer that they have on here. Killer chip is the 1550i. It does work out well. I don't have any problems with the ping times, with the range, no drop connections, and my peak speeds here in the studio are topping out about 38 megabytes per second downloads with Steam. That's through my 300 megabit fiber line I have here. So out of the box, we get very few bloatware applications that Lenovo themselves have put on there. They do have an antivirus installed, which is McAfee, so I just got rid of that. That's really basically it. You have this right here, which is called Lenovo Vantage. So it's their software, their control center. Allows you to see, for example, the resources of the GPU, the CPU, the RAM, and you've got optimizers in here. And this is where you'll find the hybrid mode as well. So turning this on disables G-Sync and allows us to then swap over to the integrated Intel GPU, doubling basically the battery life. So it'll bring it up from about the 2 hours maximum you get on the dedicated GPU up to around about 4 hours, 3.5 hours of mixed web use with the brightness set at about 40%. As for upgradability, so it is easy to get into the internals. It's just the single cover off the rear. So remove all the screws, pry it up, and you've got access to the RAM. So there's no RAM on the other side of the motherboard, which is great. You can upgrade the wireless card, the SSD, and of course that 1 terabyte spindle hard drive. You can replace that if you wanted to put something like an SSD in there. In fact, when the system is idle, that is the noise that you hear is the hard drive and not the fan.
go, go! Take those trucks!
Which hunters defenders for monsters?
It's your end of life!
So what about the fan noise gaming? Well, it does get relatively loud, about 55 decibels, but here's a sample of it and what to expect when gaming under full load. So one area where it really does excel here is the temperatures of the laptop itself when gaming. So I've been gaming now for about an hour and a half, and the keyboard's about 30 degrees. The palm rest is 27, so it still feels very cool to the touch. It doesn't heat up like some gaming laptops can. They can get very hot to the touch, but Lenovo here does a really good job. Alright, so there's a lot of things I like about this laptop. I think it's a fantastic gaming laptop after all. If you want that RTX 27 performance, as you've seen, it's quite a monster, very good at games. Even the most demanding games set on very high settings, it's still going to have playable frame rates. Okay, you're not going to push the 144 frames per second if you were going to be using, say, VSync and you wanted to try and keep that. But in older titles that I haven't tested and lighter engine titles, for example, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, all those games, depending on your settings, of course, then you have no real problem running 1080p at the 144 Hz. So the screen turned out to be a lot better than I thought. I also like the fact that it goes right back, which is good. A lot of manufacturers don't let you do that. And the build overall, it's a very solid laptop. Yes, it is a little bit heavy, but of course, gaming laptop with all the extra cooling in there, you expect that. So the Core i7, the 8750H, Lenovo, unlike other manufacturers, lets you really push the maximum performance. So what I love about this, it will hold the 3.9 gigahertz across all 6 cores. Other gaming laptops that I have looked at, like the Strix that I had from Asus, ended up throttling down to 25 watts, and that limited to the cores across all 6 to about only 2.6, I think it was, gigahertz or 2.8, severely affecting their performance. So Lenovo doesn't do that here, and they've even used a higher 60 watt power limit level 1, and as a result, yes, the fans, the profiles take a little bit of time to actually spin up to 100%, so it will peak at 96 degrees, trigger a tiny little bit of thermal throttling. It's only for a few seconds that it will be in the 90s. It's still not brilliant to see, but once the fans are going, it will then settle down to mid-80s, as you probably saw when you looked at the temperatures gaming. It does get a little bit hot and it will peak up there, but overall, I think it's a good trade-off. So yes, it will peak, but the performance we're getting is really quite good there. Now, fan noise at idle is very good. In fact, it's the spindle hard drive that's located about here. You can hear it around the palm rest. That's making all the noise. And you don't even know if the fans are on. I put my ear down to it and you can hear, okay, they're on, but they're just a very low RPM, very low hum, and I can't even really pick up any reading from my decibel meter. So that is really good. And it's not one of those annoying gaming laptops that when you're in Chrome, suddenly the fan goes roaring up to 100% and then drops away and it's gone again. No, it just sits there. So the fan profiles, they push it to the limit before they trigger the next step up from the fan with the fan RPMs there. Now, of course, no laptop is perfect, and the webcam is one of those areas that they've just overlooked completely. They just haven't bothered. They just think gamers don't need webcams. So I really wish they'd put it up here at the top bezel. So the location's looking kind of up your nose, and the quality's all pixelated, it's blocky, and even with the powerful studio lights on I have now, it didn't look particularly good. Microphone quality, however, is at least good that you get from it. Now the keyboard is not a bad keyboard. You've got your full RGB lightings if you like that. In fact, I like the fact that this note has no stupid dragon logo, flames, gamer red accent all over it. No, this does not actually scream gaming to me unless, of course, you've got the RGB lights on with the full customization. But it was odd to see that they did not include the software for that. So you have to go over to Corsair's website and download it, which is, it's not a problem, but you just assume it would be there. The touchpad, it's okay. Most gamers, of course, no one's going to be gaming using a touchpad. You use a mouse for that. But the mouse buttons, the hardware ones, at least they are separated away from the touchpad. They're okay, but I feel that they just go in a little bit too deep. Now, the keyboard, back to that, I don't like it all. Just like the Mi Gaming laptop that has this. The column that they put on the left-hand side, why mess with the traditional layout? So if you're switching between your desktop PC for gaming and then you go to this laptop, you're going to notice it and you're going to keep accidentally touching those keys until you readapt and get used to this keyboard again. So it's kind of annoying in a way that they've done that there. So the weight of it, travel weight to all up with the large power supply is pushing almost 3.5 kilos. So it's on the heavy side, but that's to be expected. With the cooling in it, upgradability is very good, so you don't have to flip the motherboard around to get access to the RAM, unlike some other brands. And you can, of course, replace SSDs, wireless card. Now, battery life is a grey area, bad area with gaming laptops. All of them, terrible battery life. So it's no different here. So if you're on the dedicated GPU, you're looking at gaming, only about an hour, even under an hour of gaming, and you're not getting the same performance as plugged in, of course, so you wouldn't game anyway. If you want to swap over to then the hybrid system, so that disables G-Sync, it uses the integrated GPU, you're going to get anywhere from about 4 hours of mixed use on about 40% brightness. Lower the brightness and even lighter use like video playback and things like that. Just video playback, maybe 5 hours. It really depends on that. And if you're just using mixed use with the dedicated GPU, 2 hours max, probably not even that. It does chews through that battery as you'd expect. So an all-round package, I think they've done it. I think this is a really good gaming laptop here. That RTX 2070, of course, is a step up. It's really powerful. We've got the ray tracing support with games that do support it if you're into that and you want that. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you want a little more detail and a better look at the internals and things like that, then please do check my unboxing of this one. And I hope to catch you back in the channel. Thank you so much. Bye for now.